Hey friend, and welcome to True Consequences. Sorry for the delayed episode. As you can probably tell, my voice is not that great right now. I am recovering from, I think, a sinus infection. I don't know. It's too much information. But as a result, I really haven't had a lot of time to get a lot done. So I apologize for the delay in this episode, and also want to point out that this is a re-release. And the reason I'm doing that is because there is an update that I'm going to share with you at the end of this episode. It's also important for you to know that this interview that I did with Amanda Romero changed my entire perspective on advocating for Jacob's case. When I had interviewed her, she was one of the earliest interviews that I had done. And I was having a conversation with her talking about whatever you ignore, you permit. And I talked about the fact that it was important to speak up about these things, about the issues related to justice and violence in our community. And in that conversation, I had a realization that I needed to step up and tell my story. So I want to thank Amanda for her courage and her strength in this episode. And I'm going to be forever grateful to her for the impact that she's had in my fight for justice.
Hello and welcome back to True Consequences. I'm your host, Eric Carter-Landin. Today I'm going to be interviewing Amanda Kimbrel-Romero. Amanda is the mother of Collin Romero. You may remember this case if you're from New Mexico. Collin and his friend Ahmed Latif were brutally attacked and left to die in the West Mesa near Albuquerque. I reached out to Amanda because I wanted to get her perspective on the issues of violent crime in New Mexico. Amanda agreed to an interview. We spent some time talking a little bit about the case. You'll definitely hear some of that. Mostly what we talked about were things that need to happen in this state to address these issues, because these issues really affect everybody. As a lifelong resident of New Mexico, it's really become a challenge to accept things the way that they are right now. There has to be a better way. There has to be something else besides what we're dealing with as it pertains to the justice system. Amanda and I spent some time talking about some of the things that we think can definitely help. Amanda and I spent some time talking about the fact that the bail reform law really has changed the face of justice in New Mexico. So much so, people who are being charged with the murders of Collin and Ahmed were on a violent crime spree prior to December 2018. I definitely feel that something needs to change here in New Mexico. I hope you'll join me and Amanda in working together to make sure that we can create a brighter future for all New Mexicans, especially children. Many of you may or may not know this about me, but my brother was murdered 36 years ago. He was 9 months old when he died. My mom and I have been fighting for justice for Jacob for 36 years. Now, the issues that are plaguing our state are not new. They've been happening for a long time, but we as a community need to wake up and really start looking into what we can do to affect change in this state. I know many people are frustrated and tired and upset, but if we all work together and we rise up with one voice, we can make real change in this state. I believe in that. I believe in the power of our community, and I believe that we are better than this, New Mexico. So that's the end of my rant for today. Let's listen to Amanda and let's hear what she has to say about the issue.
So I received a phone call on December 17, 2018 that my son Collin had gone missing from his friend's house. He was having a sleepover over the weekend with them for winter break. He told me that he just got into a car with a friend and left and never came back. And I asked him, why didn't you call me before this? And he said that he thought he was coming back. Sent me Snapchat videos of the Snapchat maps where they were. where Ahmed's Snapchat was ending up, and it was on the West Mesa. I called into work immediately and I went over there and was searching by myself because I thought maybe they got stranded or something.
Sure.
And they have no reason to be over there. They've never really been in that area. So I went over there and I was searching by myself, and I actually got into an open field. At first, I was pissed at Collin because he always ends up getting into some jam or something, but he's not like a bad kid or anything. So I didn't think anything too bad. But then I got into this open field and my heart just sunk into my stomach. And I don't know for sure, but I feel that is probably where they died. I'm not a real spiritual person or anything, but something inside me said something was wrong. And I called the police and I made a missing persons report. I didn't know the details of it. I had no idea what was going on. He's never run away before. He's never disappeared before. So it was hard for me to grasp that something bad happened. And then I went home that afternoon and went to bed. And then I went to work the next day, still calling his phone, texting his phone, like he's going to turn up. This isn't normal. And then I got another phone call from the boys' friends saying that a video had been released on Snapchat that the boys were being beaten and they were crying in the back of a car, I think. I don't remember. And then I received another phone call that someone's told me that a girl received a picture of the boys in the back of a car, dead. And so I was freaking out. I was like, they can't be dead. I called the other kid back and I was like, they're saying there's a picture. And he said, they're not dead. They're not dead. They're out there. I got a hold of somebody. They said that they left them out there to die, that they just beat them and they're out there. And I immediately went out there with some friends and family and back to the area that I was searching the day before. And we started searching that area really good. There was only a few of us though. And then I think it was the next day. By this point, I am freaking out.
Yeah.
I am losing my shit. And I ended up going on Facebook and putting out a public post. I need help. My son's supposedly out here. They said that they left him out here to die. It's getting cold at night. They're naked. They have no shelter, no food, no water, nothing. And it was a pretty heartfelt plea for help. And, hundreds of people showed up. Hundreds of people just started pouring in. People brought horses, dogs, dirt bikes, any kind of vehicle that you could get on that kind of rough terrain. And we ended up searching for 2 weeks. Every day there was just more and more people. And then on that Saturday, before we found them, if I had to guess, I probably would guess that we had about 1,000 people out there searching. Untrained people were out there searching for two boys that they did not know. And it was amazing. It really was, because Collin always said nobody liked him. He would get on people's nerves easily. And he always had in his head that he was never going to fit in anywhere. And then all these people just showed up, kids, adults, every walk of life. They just flooded in to find them. And I wish he could have, I'm sure he saw that in a spiritual sense, but I wish he could have seen that people do care about other people in Albuquerque. And it broke my heart that he didn't get to see that, those people coming out there. And anyway, so for those 2 weeks when we're searching, I'm also hiring dog teams, spending my own money to buy food, water. We got a lot of donations for searchers and stuff like that too. And we were also doing our own investigation on people. It was mostly through social media, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram. I had people from California that were investigating people. I had a private investigator that we hired to start kind of like scoping these places out, the people who were supposedly involved. But we didn't want to publicly say this person had something to do with it because everyone was angry with pitchforks and stuff. We didn't want to put an innocent person out there because we didn't know for sure. But every single person involved were the people that we picked up.
Really?
They were, yes. And we did that. A lot of untrained people, basically nosy housewives, were the ones that were finding all this information.
Doing like web sleuthing?
They did amazing. They picked out every single person and Sure as shit.
Wow.
It was all them. The only one that we did have 2 suspects for was Atkins because his street name is Flex. There's about 50 Flexes here in Albuquerque. It was either him or another one that we had found, but we narrowed it down to those 2 kids.
Yeah.
I say kids, but they're men. They're just young men. Anyways, so that we were having to do the search and the investigation, everything completely on our own, untrained, unsupervised. We were doing stuff that we probably shouldn't have been doing completely to find them.
Sure.
And then that next weekend when they were found, we actually knew the day before that they had found them just through the grapevine.
So was it one of these searchers that wasn't really trained that found them, or who?
So I can't say who
Okay.
actually found
Okay.
them, but if we hadn't have been out there searching, he was not actually a part of the search group,
Okay.
but he knew that we were out there. He knew that we were searching and he found something that was out of the ordinary.
Okay.
So when he found that, he knew something wasn't right. Called down to APD, told me to come check it out. They went over there. They said, it's nothing. And then they left. And then he called a sheriff from Sandoval County, a detective over there, and that he knew personally. And he said, come check this out. And he went over there. And then that detective, Frank Tomlinson, I think is his last name, he went ahead and called out a team of people because it wasn't right. He knew it. He could feel it in his gut. Something wasn't right. And so they went out there and they discovered the boys that way.
It's horrifying. I can't.
Yes.
I know I can't say anything to make it not hurt or make it better, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping that shining some light on some of the injustice and on some of the issues in the state might help make it so nobody else has to go through that.
Exactly. And that really, ultimately, my goal is justice for Collin and Ahmed, obviously, but it is just future crimes against our youth. It breaks my heart. I see it on the news. Even before all this happened, it always broke my heart. I always wish there was something I could do. I've always been a helpful person.
Yes.
But I never had a calling, and I always wanted to get involved in the community, but not in the just throw money at the situation.
Sure.
I don't think that helps because it usually lines someone's pocket that shouldn't be lined.
Yep.
But I always wanted to do something. And now I feel like I can do something. I can help other families. I can help shed light on the situation. Justice system is in shambles here in New Mexico. And I'm not the only one that's frustrated. A lot of people are frustrated and they're pissed off and they want change. But how do you make change? Because there's not enough communication within the community to actually come together and demand it and get it.
Yeah.
Because we're all so spread out.
Yeah.
In New Mexico.
Yeah.
We're real rural.
Aside from this city and maybe Santa Fe, yeah, the state's virtually empty.
Yeah, it is.
And so it's been, how many years has it been since they were found?
They were found in December 2018. So it's been
About a year.
Almost a year. Yeah. Almost a year.
Now the whole process of charging the individuals that were involved and all that is starting to happen, starting to unfold. What are some of the things that you think should be done in the future or could be done to help what happened in this whole process?
I would love to just call out Snapchat right now. Actually, you can basically put anything on Snapchat and they do not contact local law enforcement in the area. A lot of things are put out there that are just crimes. And I even wonder what else is on there. Murder, rape, things like that, that Snapchat doesn't even do anything about. Now, Facebook, if you were to post something like that on Facebook, they would immediately contact local law enforcement and get them involved. It doesn't do that. So supposedly, I don't know this for sure, Goldman, he had a habit of posting very violent crimes on Snapchat. And nothing was ever done about it. Nobody was ever contacted with the authorities. And he would just put stuff out there and get away with it, basically.
But that's the rumor, right?
That is the rumor. Yeah. I've heard it from multiple people. He would beat the living shit out of you and leave you somewhere or beat the crap out of you at a party and film it. And then he was looking for some kind of notoriety or something, like very like weird serial killer type shit.
It's just hard to imagine why this all happened. I'm sure you ask yourself all the time, and I'm sure there's no answer really, or at least we don't have one yet.
Yeah.
You might have one that you can't share.
Yeah.
But my heart definitely goes out to you. And I don't mean that to be patronizing. I really, as a fellow person who's experienced murder and crime in my own household, my own family, I know how it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if these guys rot in jail for the rest of their lives. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't bring your son back.
It doesn't. And I know that at the end of the day, nothing's going to bring him back. But also at the end of the day, there has to be, someone needs to answer for their crimes.
Yeah.
And people do need to do the time for what they chose to do.
Yeah.
And I said it time and time again, had it happened quickly and you're in a vehicle, shit gets out of control and then it just escalates. And they were shot quickly. If it truly was a supposed drug deal gone bad, that would have happened. It would have happened very quickly. I would have said, you know what? Shit happens. And it does, because when I was younger, I was in situations like that. Or had I had a gun on me and things were happening, I may have done something stupid too. But they had 2 hours to think this through. I don't think it was an accident. I don't think it was shit just went wrong and spiraled out of control. 2 hours is a long time to torture someone.
Yeah.
That's a very long time. But they had to also escalate it and kill them. They could have left them out there. They could have stripped them of their dignity, embarrassed them, humiliated them, put it on Snapchat, everything, and then just left them. But no, they had to take it one step further and kill them. There was zero reason for that. And I've been told by every single detective on the case, Collin was never, ever the target. It was Ahmed and another boy. Collin got into the car instead. And he was never supposed to be in that car. So that hurts a lot. Not that I would want it to happen to any other child or Ahmed, but it sucks for me, like as his mother, that he never had a problem with these people. He knew them through other people. They were more of acquaintances. And I was told over and over again, they never had a problem with him. And that hurts. That it really wasn't supposed to be here in that car.
It's just senseless.
It really was. It is either way, no matter what boy was in the car and stuff, but it makes me even more mad.
Sure.
That he wasn't even supposed to be there. Sucks.
What do you think that needs to change with our laws in New Mexico?
I think the bail reform law is the number one thing that is tying up the DA's hands, ED's hands. That needs to be completely reversed. I think when it first got put into place, people thought that it would be low-level crimes, panhandling, or petty theft, or something like that. Those types of people that would be released, not violent criminals. Nobody read the fine print and said, no, you have to be a violent offender and it's flight risk.
Yeah.
So even if I go and shoot up a house right now, I'm a violent offender, but I have no connections outside of New Mexico. Where am I going to go? I'm not a flight risk. I didn't run from the cops when they came and got me. I get to get out of jail until my trial for me to continue on another crime spree.
Offending, yeah.
Yeah. And there's been case after case of people being arrested for a crime. Let's just take domestic dispute as an example, and getting out because they're not a flight risk and then going and finishing the job. They should have never been released.
So perhaps somebody got in a fight with their wife, beat them up, got released, and went and killed their spouse.
That's exactly what happens. And the Arnold system has been shown in every single state that it's implemented that it is completely ineffective. People don't realize what it actually means that they just let people out for violent crimes, murders, child rape, things like that. And the fact that we got all 5 of our suspects behind bars was huge.
Yeah.
It was, for New Mexico, that was a big deal. I think it should be like that for every violent case, though. I actually got a lot of backlash from people talking shit that, but they let, this person out, or they let that person out, but they're keeping Stephen Goldman Sr. behind bars. Stephen Goldman Sr. was intimidating witnesses and stuff. How far was he willing to go to protect his son? Pretty far. He drove all the way to Las Vegas, Nevada to go not only intimidate a witness, but let that witness's friends know that he was a rat, trying to get him killed in jail over there. So people were talking crap about that, not realizing what he was doing. But I would like to see that for every victim's family victim, that these people are held behind bars, not just mine. And I don't want people thinking that I only care about this case. I care about every single victim out there.
Absolutely. I think that's very well said. And I think it's a problem that maybe not everybody's fully aware of. I know that people in New Mexico are aware of the crime statistics in Albuquerque, the issues that we're facing with property crime, with violent offenders, with muggings, all these things that are happening. A lot of that's stemming from this bail reform law that was passed several years ago, which was meant to help alleviate some of the strain on the city jail and the county jail population. Basically, they were overcrowded to the point where there were 10 inmates or more per cell. They really couldn't pay for all of these inmates to be housed. So their response to that, the government's response to that, was to basically catch and release. And so a lot of people in New Mexico know this bill as the catch and release law, where an offender will be caught, they'll be arraigned, and then they'll be sent home. And for somebody, I think you alluded to this, I don't know if you can talk about this, but some of their behavior prior to the incident with Collin, these three people, some of their behavior prior to the incident with Collin kind of shines a light on the problem here.
Yeah. So a big problem with some of them is, again, this is speculation. I don't have proof of this part of it, but people were scared to call the cops because why call the cops when they're just going to be released immediately? Very violent individuals, you looked at them wrong and they would just beat you and stuff. So that's alarming that people have gotten to the point where they don't even want to make a big deal out of something, out of a crime, because they're just going to be released. So why even do that? And then Goldman Jr. and Fabian, and then some other individuals that were involved, they were on a crime spree throughout several states. They were robbing pharmacies at gunpoint very violently. There were other crimes committed that I can't talk about leading up to the boys, but they were already on the radar of the police for a shooting that took place in November. It was a robbery, and they did try to kill those boys as well. They were a little bit older. They fought back, and they got away. They went to the police about that, these boys and their father, and were dismissed. You don't have proof of this. We need more witnesses. They got dismissed and pushed aside because they didn't have a lot of, witnesses to it. But the police were made aware of the violent crimes that these people were committing, and I don't know if they thought maybe because they were so low level that they weren't anything to worry about, but I've seen a trend in Albuquerque with a lot of these younger up and coming gangs, or whatever you want to call them, cliques. They have no rules. They have no street code, nothing. They're just running around and killing people or hurting people. And they're not being reined in because they're not actually a gang. And we don't have our gang unit anymore. We don't have rope team anymore. I can't remember who dismantled those, but that was a huge mistake right there. Those teams to me were very valuable to Albuquerque, and they helped curb that violent behavior because you knew someone bigger and badder was going to come after you.
Yeah.
And now these cops are being held to this outrageous standard that they can't hurt you or they can't rough you up trying to bring you in, and they're being sued right and left from criminals. You can't be going around doing this shit and then expect to be treated
with kid gloves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like APD's hands, I'm sure cops everywhere, are just, they can't do anything about this. And I'm sure they're very frustrated too, a lot of them, because they keep catching these people and then they see them the next day. It's almost like to me, like a slap in the face to not only the victims in the community, but like to the police officers too.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine arresting a violent offender and then the Justice Department just lets them go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have to get them again, or you find them doing something worse, or they end up killing somebody. Like, it's just...
Exactly.
It's mind-boggling that we're in this place.
Exactly. It's, I guess, the broken window theory.
Talk about that.
To me, I keep using myself because I don't want to throw anybody else out there, but if I'm breaking into your car to steal something, I probably have a reason, and I'm just going to throw this out here, but more than likely drugs.
Sure.
And I'm going to start escalating because I'm going to get more and more desperate. I'm going to get more and more brave. I'm getting away with it. I'm not being arrested for it. Most people don't even call in to make a police report anymore when their cars are broken into.
Yeah.
Because they are so overwhelmed with all these calls that they can't even show up to them.
So currently in Albuquerque, New Mexico, there's one cop for almost every 1,200 people in Albuquerque.
So there's not enough cops for the citizens here to protect us and stuff. And then that's why it takes us to protect ourselves, protect our property. But then look, you're going to be sued by those same people who are coming to hurt you or break into your cars and stuff. And it as a law-abiding citizen, it's like you're screwed for each angle. And what are you going to do?
Then there's also the risk of retribution and being retaliated against when they get and eventually get out of jail, which is going to happen.
Exactly. So I haven't received any direct threats from the individuals' families, but I have received a lot of warnings from other people saying that they retaliate, families, friends. I had to move because of it, because I was again, I never received a direct threat, but I was just getting such strong warnings that I went ahead and moved because of it. And I didn't want to become another victim of theirs. Don't have the victim mentality. I won't ever have that mentality, but I will take it upon myself to protect myself.
Yeah.
And I bought new guns. I kind of like prepared for them to come find me, and a part of me hopes they do because they'd be surprised. But then again, I'm not going to just lay down and be their victim.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
What do you think everyday people in the state can do to make a difference?
You know what? I think communication with like-minded people, I think, is huge. Reading up on judges and laws before you vote on them. Again, communicating with other people in your community that are on the same page as you and they're sick of the same things you're sick of, realizing that you're not the only one that wants to see this change. And so really getting out there and voting, it has a lot to do with it. I don't think a lot of people vote, or they see a D or an R next to a name and that's automatically where they're going because they're Democrat or Republican. And me, personally, I research people before I vote on them. I don't care what side they're on.
Yeah.
I might lean to the right a little bit, but I'm not full-blown Republican or anything. I don't care what political party someone is affiliated with. If their goal is to help the criminals, I'm not going to vote for that.
Sure.
Definitely not. But yeah, I think people need to just get out there and vote and communicate more and get to know their neighbors, get to know their kids' friends, parents, and really open your eyes to see that at any moment, any of us could be a victim of this.
Yeah.
I never thought something like this would happen to me, but I was never ignorant to the fact that it could be me or my child or my family member. I was never an ignorant person like that. But at the end of the day, we always have that mentality, not me.
Yeah.
And it can be. And I've met a lot of parents who have lost children from every walk of life. Good people, poor people, rich people, middle income people. It doesn't matter where you come from. Violence does not see money, race, sexual orientation, nothing. Violence is very open to anybody.
Yeah. And it's a huge problem here in the state and in the city in particular. And I think your point is well taken here. people need to know what's going on. They need to know what they're voting for. They need to know who their city councilors are and what those city councilors stand for, because the city council has a lot to say with what goes on in the city jails and in the county jails. And they need to be held accountable for these laws. And whoever was responsible for this fiasco needs to be held accountable, or at least take some responsibility and some ownership. Let's figure out something else and keep those violent offenders where they belong, which is away from the general public. I think that's a huge opportunity here. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast, is because I feel like people need to be talking about this. And if nobody's going to talk about it, then I'm going to talk about it. And I was inspired by you, just so you know why I reached out to you. I knew about the case when it happened and everything, but I never actually looked into you or anything. I saw your Facebook page, and some of the posts that you posted were really inspiring for me, because you're not afraid to say something. Good, bad, or indifferent. You're willing to stick your neck out there. And I feel the same way. I just feel like somebody has to say something.
Exactly. I've had a lot of people in my life tell me I'm too outspoken. I need to mind my own business. I need to shut my mouth. I'm a part of a union, and I'm not a union steward, but I act like a union steward because I'm not going to let, management get away with treating their employees like shit. And I've had coworkers and stuff tell me, "Why do you care?" And I'm like, because I care. And even though obviously work is a stupid example, but I've always been like that in general. And I've always been a fighter. I love to argue. I love to fight. I enjoy it because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And I'm not going to roll over and just take someone's bullshit. Or if I see someone else taking it and it's not right, I am going to step in, because there's been plenty of times in my life where I needed someone and nobody stepped up. Nobody helped me. So when this happened, you just saw me kind of get up on steroids on right and wrong. And it really did call to me to help other families and stuff and be that very loud. I try to be a very loud voice for victims and their families. And because a lot of people don't want to fight, they don't want to stick their neck out there, like you said. They don't want any more problems. And I'm like, bring it on to me. I can take that shit. I can roll with the punches and stuff. And this has been the hardest time of my life.
Sure.
And I've been through some pretty fucked up shit. But this has shown me how evil the world truly is. And how screwed up our judicial system is. I've learned so much about our judicial system, and I'm appalled. I really am. I've always been somewhat political, but now I'm becoming more and more political, only to create some change in it.
Absolutely. So I think that just triggered something in my mind. So my day job, I'm a manager. I'm an operations manager. And there's this phrase in management that what you ignore, you permit. And I feel like that's exactly where Albuquerque and New Mexico is right now. And if you're listening to this podcast, you really need to wake up. And I don't mean to sound rude or disrespectful, but I feel as a community, we need to wake up. The reality of what's happening is tearing the city apart. And I've lived here for over 20 years. I'm a native New Mexican. I moved up to Albuquerque from Socorro when I was 18, 21 years. Good grief. It's always been a challenge. Crime has always been an issue. We've always had sex workers and drug addicts and robberies and all of these things. But in the last, I feel like 10 years or so, it's just gotten exponentially worse. Yeah. So get involved. Don't ignore what's happening. Don't stand for it. We don't have to. We pay the taxes that keep the city going. And with enough of us speaking up about this and with enough of us voting intelligently about this, we could really make a huge change. So I want to thank you for your time. Is there anything else that you want to add?
I want to add on there that I have put together a search and rescue team so that in future cases like this, families aren't left wondering what to do or how to do it. We will step in if the police won't do anything or can't do anything. We'll step in free of charge. We're in the process of getting a cadaver dog. We've got ATVs, side-by-sides, things like that. I actually met an acquaintance last night who has volunteered his horses for us for future search and rescues. But it's called the Collin and Ahmed Search and Rescue Team. And if someone goes missing out in the West Mesa or was presumed dead, we will step in and help families free of charge.
Nice.
Find them.
How can they find information about this?
So the Collin and Ahmed Search and Rescue Team is on Facebook right now, but you can contact me or members of my team. It basically consists of retired military, retired police officers, and then just some other volunteers that really stepped up during my search. They learned just as quickly as I did on how to actually search for people and stuff. So even though we weren't the ones that found the boys, we learned a lot on how to actually search for people.
So again, you can find the Collin and Ahmed Search and Rescue Facebook page, and you can reach out to Amanda directly through there, maybe through a message on that. I don't know if you want to get any more information or websites or anything else, but
you can join us on also the Facebook page, Justice for Collin and Ahmed. I represent both boys right now. My son is no more important than Ahmed is. And I want to make sure that people know I'm not just fighting for Collin. I'm fighting for Collin and Ahmed. And I'm fighting for every child that is wronged in New Mexico. So it's not just about the boys. It is about our youth here in Albuquerque and New Mexico.
And I'm fighting with you.
Thank you.
I'm here to fight. And I'm going to call people out, and I'll do whatever I can from my side as well.
That's awesome.
Thanks for your time.
Of course.
Okay, so you just heard the episode that I recorded with Amanda several years ago. The case actually went to trial this month. And the good news is all three suspects that were involved in the murder of Collin and Ahmed were convicted of 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, as well as armed robbery. So all 3 of them will be serving extended periods in prison. The trial was very interesting. There was a lot of evidence related to cell phones, Snapchat. The guys that abducted Collin and Ahmed, they had that all over Snapchat. So that was used against them in this trial. I just want to say how happy I am to know that this case has gone to trial and that those responsible are going to be in prison. I'm so proud of Amanda Romero and the work that she's done, not only for Collin and Ahmed's case, but for others in the community. And if you'd like to, you could follow Justice for Collin and Ahmed on Facebook. Sending my love and my congratulations to Amanda and her family. I hope they find peace, and I hope that they can now continue to move forward with their lives. Thanks for listening, and stay safe, New Mexico.